Aotearoa, and welcome to Thursday's Economy Watch, where we follow the economic events and trends that affect Aotearoa. I'm David Chaston, and this is the international edition from news.co.nz, and today we lead with news the world's services sector seems to be holding its own. Ahead of this weekend's November non-farm payrolls report, the private ADP employment report out today reveals American private businesses added 146,000 workers to their payrolls in the month, slightly below forecasts of 150,000. This is a revision to the mean for 2024. Currently, analysts are expecting the non-farm payrolls to rise 200,000 in their report on Saturday New Zealand time. And new factory orders in the US inched up in October to be 3.4% higher than year-ago levels. US mortgage applications rose again and for a fourth consecutive week. This was driven by new purchase activity and helped by a fall in benchmark mortgage interest rates to 6.69%. But it was undercut by a fall in refinance activity. The giant US services sector expanded at a good and solid rate in November, but not as fast as in October, according to the widely watched ISM survey. The November expansion was also a reversion to the 2024 mean. But the internationally benchmarked S&P Global Market version reported a rising expansion in the sector, and to its fastest clip since March 2022. They say it was based on a rise in new orders. The bullish of those two reports is likely to be the more realistic one, because American vehicle sales rose to an annualized rate of 16.5 million in November, its strongest pace since May 2021. And there were service sector reports out for a number of other economies overnight, and they were mixed. In Canada, their small expansion grew again in the month. In Japan, that sector shifted from a contraction to an expansion. And the Kaijin version for China stayed at a modest expansion. But that one will be disappointing because all of their stimulus efforts so far haven't really moved the needle, and deflationary pressures grow there. In India, their expansion stayed strong, but it is being marred by fast-rising inflation. That is being fueled by food and wages, and is now running at a 12-year high. In South Korea, the president's martial law move has backfired spectacularly. The stage is now set for an historic vote to impeach him. Democratic forces have prevailed over authoritarian ambition. And as we publish, it seems that the French government will fall to a no-confidence vote supported by both the far-left and far-right political opposition parties. But a little history might be helpful for some French parliamentarians. Only one motion of no confidence has ever been passed in France since 1958. It was in 1962, and it was aimed at Prime Minister Georges Pompidou, and through him at President Charles de Gaulle. A month and a half later, the two men found themselves more secure than ever. In Australia, their services PMI slipped from a very minor expansion to no expansion in November. But the same survey recorded business confidence rising to its highest level since May 2022, which in the circumstances seems odd. However, other Australian confidence surveys report a similar disconnect. And the Aussies also released their third quarter 2024 GDP result yesterday, and it came in with a somewhat surprising miss. Some analysts had expected a surprise, but on the high side given recent data, based largely on the spending surge by their federal government. But few saw this downside miss coming. The Australian economy grew by 0.3% in the third quarter, following a 0.2% increase in the prior three quarters. This marked the 12th straight period of quarterly growth, but fell short of market expectations of 0.4%. And year-on-year, the rise was 0.8% instead of the expected 1%. These are still minor moves, and given the stimulus in effect, it does lead to a view the Aussie economy is stagnating. But at least it isn't contracting. The US Treasury 10-year yield is now just on 4.19% and down 1 basis point from yesterday. And the price of gold will start today at $2,652 an ounce and up $2 from yesterday. Oil prices are 50 US cents softer at $69.50 a barrel in the US, while the international Brent price is little changed at just under $73.50 a barrel. And the Kiwi dollar starts today at 58.7 US cents and down 15 basis points from this time yesterday. Against the Aussie, we're up 30 basis points at 91.1 Australian cents. Against the euro, we've dipped 20 basis points at 55.7 euro cents. And that all means our trade-weighted index starts today at just on 68.3 and unchanged from yesterday. And the Bitcoin price starts today at $95,114 and virtually unchanged from this time yesterday too. Volatility over the past 24 hours has remained modest, just on plus or minus 1.1%. You can find links to the articles mentioned today in our show notes, and you can get more news affecting the economy in New Zealand from interest.co.nz. Kia ora, I'm David Chaston, and we'll do this again tomorrow.